Hello. Earlier in this course, we talked about the Healthy Schools Action Tools, or known as the HSAT, which is a tool that's designed to help schools and districts examine the processes they have around whole child efforts. It's a very easy to use tool. Again, you interact with it online, but you can run reports. I'm not going to get into the full functionality of the website, but I am going to talk about a couple specific features in it. First, just want to give credit. The reason that this tool is made free to Michigan, it's sponsored by MDHHS, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, as well as MDE. And then, of course, there's a list of other folks, universities, and support that make it available. So it's really a great opportunity for those of us in Michigan. If you don't live in Michigan, you can actually print off the surveys and use paper surveys to track your progress. So first we're going to go to mihealthtools.org/HSAT, and that's where the login page resides. It does have some information on why you would want to use the tool when you're working with your team. And really, tool is really meant to be used with your school leadership team or health team. That way you're developing consensus and a really good gauge of how you perceive your implementation thus far. So if you don't have an account, you're going to go to register. If you do have an account, you go ahead and you just enter your login and your password. I'm using a generic user login just for the point of showing you the dashboard and the different features. But as you can see, here we are in the dashboard, and these are all the different surveys that you can utilize within the website. And specifically for this section, we're going to go right into the social emotional learning tools. And here it just shows that there's completed one and there's one that's in progress. We're going to click on the one that's in progress. You would do this annually to measure your progress and compare the results year to year. So now I'm in the social emotional learning health environment surveys, and you can see across the top there's multiple tabs, and you need to complete those tabs and then hit submit to actually have this section completed. And so as you go down through, you see that basically it's just asking questions around social emotional learning. And obviously you would vote as a school leadership team on where you believe that you're at as a team. And then a neat feature here, just to kind of mix it up a little bit, they're asking if these different components are present in your school, and not only are they present, but at what level. And so they have the different boxes here: always present everywhere, mostly present 75% or more, and then sometimes rarely or never present. And it's kind of a fun way to interact with it, but you just literally drag these boxes over into the areas that you want to respond to. And then it has more of your traditional Likert scale responses as well. Does your school provide orientation for students new to your school, including students who enter after the beginning of the year, with the aim of making students feel more at home again and welcome? Again, this is just reinforcing those pieces of having a positive climate and culture that's conducive to social emotional learning. And then it gets a little bit more specific about, do the staff at your school reinforce positive social behaviors, appropriately intervene. And many times you have a question what they mean by these different terms. If you just hover over the words, it'll actually give you an example. And again, as you're doing this maybe on a screen with a team, this is very helpful. And then you would literally just go through and click what level that you believe that it's present. And then you go down to the last two questions. It's going to ask you a little bit more specific information about on-site mental health services for students dealing with mental health or personal issues. Again, if you're not sure what those mean, you can hover over and it'll give you a little bit more clarity. And then finally, you have the last question that deals with mental health concerns and confidentiality. And then when you click save, it will then take you automatically over to the next tabs. And we're of course not going to go through and take the whole survey, but then you can get an idea. You get we were in the health environment, now we're in the education and promotion piece. And, real basic question the past year, did your school provide health education on social emotional health? Just remember that if your school does implement the Michigan Model for Health, that's going to be a yes, because those units are included as long as you're implementing the model of fidelity. Additionally, it has a few other questions that get a little bit more specific about the integration. Again, the research suggests that actually implementing social emotional learning within core content, where it's more not a commercial, it's actually part of the learning. So if there's a story or a passage about a situation where somebody was dealing with an issue and you're able then to work in a social emotional learning lesson, that really is more of a captive audience and is appropriately connected to the focus of the content, but also to ideas and concepts that we really want students to walk away with around social emotional learning. And so as you go down through, again, these are more your Likert scale questions, gives you different opportunities to respond at different scales. What this really will do is generate a lot of great conversation with your school team as you decipher what some of the meanings are by hovering over and talking about, well, do we really do that? Do we do it and people are aware that we do those things? Is it systematic so we're all aware that these things are happening, or only a few people in the building really aware that really are most connected? And then as you go to the next section, it gets more into family and community involvement. We talked about in this class that that's often a difficult subject area because we have a hard time as schools reaching out and working with parents in a meaningful way, in a very proactive way, getting their input ahead of time. And part of it's just the scheduling and trying to get folks in. But part of it is we don't come up with opportunities for families to really feel like they're a part of the decision making, more of, hey, do you agree or disagree with what we're doing? And we've seen that, ever since the late 90s in our different school improvement processes where it asks to include family members or parents more, or guardians. And so as you go through, again, this is more of your traditional Likert scales, asking different questions about how you're utilizing families, gives you some tips of how to consider your answer. Like here it says, do not count information resources not translated into languages such as all parents and families can be reached. In other words, are you really making an attempt to reach out to all your families, or is it really more of a by convenience, and if they're able to participate because they happen to be English as a first language? And so, some of these will be difficult to respond 100% across the board, but that's kind of the point, because then that gives you a place to work from moving forward. And then the last one we have, the last tab, it's the need identification and referral system. And in other words, does your school have an effective process in place to identify and work with students with mental health concerns? For those districts that are taking advantage of different funding streams, or in projects that have recently been led by DHHS, where you embed a referral system. And then in this case, we're not talking about a behavioral referral system for like your PBIS system. We're talking about a referral system to refer students on to additional mental health services, to have screening done by a mental health care provider, including community mental health. And then once you can mark, are you doing that or not, yes or no, then you'll hit save this section, and then you'll have an opportunity to go over one more time. Does our team feel like that this is accurate, captures all the efforts that we're doing in our building? And then you're able then to confirm and then submit. And then of course, because you create an account, it's going to save this information, and you'll be able to revisit this at a later date. Just wanted to point out that they have a nice facts page that can give you more talking points when you're talking about this tool with your staff. There's a lot of different content pieces that are listed in here. And you really can educate yourself before you work with it with your staff, so you have an idea. about how long it's going to take. They do have some guesstimations on how long it's going to actually take to complete the assessment, so you know how much time to give yourself. And then also it has, real important tab here, who do you contact if you have further information. And I know that when I first logged in, this is where I was able to get my access, and it mentions here the different folks for the different areas of questions that you have, who to contact, and they're very helpful. In fact, I wasn't really quite sure if you lived out of state if you could use this tool, and I contacted them. Within the same day, they responded and gave me some options, and that the tool is very popular, and actually a lot of folks from out of state have requested to use the tool. So, but the reason that out-of-state folks can't use it online is it already is preloaded with all the schools and districts in the state of Michigan. So they already have that mapped behind the scenes, and so that's one of the reasons that they're not able to extend it to outside the state, because they don't have all the schools' information in their database. So hopefully this helps a little bit navigating this real helpful tool, and good luck on completing the remainder of the course. Thank you.